Okay, so here I'm going to focus on hands. Sorry. There we go. And I'm going to do a couple different hands so we're just practicing hands. It's really important for you to practice all the parts of the body, but especially hands and feet, because people have, like, they can start doing their figure drawings and they can get a really great figure, but then the hands are all messed up. So it's important to practice. It's also important to look at what is the hand's size in relation to the body. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, when they start doing their figure drawings, the hands are like really small or really big. So you want to make them the correct proportion in relation to the body. So I'm doing an open hand now. I'm using sketches, but you can use sketches or pictures of hands. I'm just making a shape for this part of the hand. And then I'm going to start making some shapes for the fingers. So some fingers are longer than others, and also depending on the way the hand is bending or turning, some fingers may seem like they're shorter than others because this hand is kind of turning back, but you can't really see that in the way that I'm drawing it yet. This is the longest finger, actually. If you look at your hand, this one is the tallest. This is just sketching lines. The thumb obviously is a lot shorter. It kind of looks like a hand. So I'm going to kind of now start with the fingers and try to get it to look a little bit more like a hand or refine it. So these fingers are kind of straight, but the fingers have sections. So even if fingers are straight, the sections may be bent. This one. There's just kind of a line here, like a crease where the hand changes from the palm to the finger. That looks like this line is a little too low, so I'm going to raise that up a bit. You know what? No. I'm going to lower the finger. This is still just kind of sketchy practice work. And you see the different lines on the hand as well. Later on, I may do just a class for drawing hands, but right now I'm going to do a couple, but because you could do some really detailed work with hands. You want to try to, when you're practicing, you want to try to sketch the hands in different positions. Okay. All right, I mean, not perfect, but that's a start. And then I'm going to try one right here in a different position. So that's probably an easy hand, right? But if the fingers are like bent and things are in front of each other, then it's going to be a lot harder. So I'm going to do a smaller one right here. Sorry, let me raise this up. So this is the kind of wrist area. So remember, when fingers are bending, we're viewing them as shapes. I mean, I'm kind of not doing it exactly like their shapes, but you still get the idea. I'm sketching them in as kind of shapes. I'm not going to the extent that I went to when I was drawing over the figures, because I think you kind of have the idea by now, but I'm visualizing the parts of the finger as shapes. What did I do here that I don't like? These drawings may overlap. That's the thumb. So like shape 1 and shape 2 for the little bend. And then here is another finger sticking out. And I don't like this. I don't feel like didn't quite. Let me get this finger in and see what I did wrong. I'm just taking a look at it, like getting a general overview. It's okay. All right. It just looks weird to me. So if something looks weird to you, it's always a good idea to stop and look at it and see where you went wrong. If, like, I was thinking that these need to be moved over or something, but I actually think I'm pretty on track for right now. So I'm now making the outlines of the shapes that I made look more like a actual hand. And I'm drawing more, I'm not being as sketchy and fast because this is kind of like the finished product, right? It's going to need adjustments, but let me just try to get kind of a generalized contour. I'm just stopping and I didn't put the nails on these yet. I'm just kind of assessing, like, does this actually look like a hand, or what do I need to change? And you should do that all the time when you're drawing. Another thing that you should do is like change your position. Like if you're really close to your drawing, you should stand up and move farther away from it and see how it looks. See what tone I like here. Something is off. I think it's the thumb. So maybe the thumb, if we make this a little bit over here. I'm just trying to figure out what I did that's not quite right. Yeah, I think that's it. So I think the thumb was too far out. I'm going to erase some of these lines underneath while I have my eraser out. All right. Let me try this shape again. Yeah, that was it, I think. All right. So notice I'm always moving stuff around. All right. Just taking a final. I need to put some nails in. So the nails stick out maybe a little tiny bit. And I want this finger actually to come out a little bit more. Always making adjustments. And here you're slightly seeing the nail. Like that. All right. I mean, that is not perfect by any means, but it still kind of looks like a hand. All right, so now I'm going to actually turn this over and do a fist. I turned it over just because I don't want to waste paper. Okay, so I'm going to do a fist here, which is a closed hand. So we did open hands in different positions. This goes up more. And I'm just making a generalized shape to help me get started. of where the fist is. All right, how am I going to start this? Okay, so thumb is about, this actually I think goes out more. So thumb is about here. Again, I'm starting with major shapes. Actually, it comes. And you're going to want to see how the shapes relate to each other. So like when I put in this first finger, or the thumb, which is how I'm getting started, I'm going to want to see how the other figures relate to it. And that might change the shape of the outline that I made, if that makes sense. Here's another. What did I do here? I'm just trying to. I feel like it's the size of the fingers is it's going to make the whole hand smaller. So I'm seeing if I need to make them bigger before I get out of proportion. I think I'm going to keep going. This is not right. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong here. Okay, so I'm going to move this over and move this whole thing over. See, it's like when you start one thing, you have to move another thing. I just don't want it to get too, like, the way people's drawings get like out of proportion is because they're not doing stuff like that. They're not stopping and taking account of like what needs to be changed while they're drawing. So when you're putting one thing in, you're going to have to start moving other things. So this goes down, this goes up a little bit more. Even though drawing is hard, it's also relaxing and meditative, but you can really have to use your attention and focus, especially when you have to move stuff around. You really have to concentrate. And you have to be patient because you may have to practice quite a bit. All right, that's a good starting point. I'm not seeing this side of the finger. All right, that's my starting point, but it does need work. So I'm going to come back in and try to do a more defined, harder line for the contour. And I mean, I'm pressing hard, but I may have to erase some of this line too. I just noticed that I wanted to make the nail longer. But I'm pressing harder to kind of overtake the lines that I made before. Again, this takes time. Practice takes a lot of time, but if you do practice, you'll get better. If you can have someone to actually sit for you so you can look at their hand, that would be even better. That comes down. The lines that I made may be a little too dark, but you might not want to go that dark on a second layer. Okay, what does this need? And we haven't done it in any of our other drawings. It needs some shading. So again, you can work with outline, but then when you add shading, you make it 3-dimensional. So I'm just putting in some shading just to make it look more like a real hand. It's actually starting to look okay. I think I'm kind of happy with it. Um, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a little bit better than I expected. I'm stopping for a second to just kind of take a look at it. This part in here is kind of dark. I'm going to move this middle line over. Okay, so this part is kind of in shadow in here. There's something not quite right about it, but I'm going to keep going. You know, I mean, you have to find a happy medium. Like, am I going to correct every little thing, or am I going to just try to finish the drawing because I think it looks pretty good, right? I mean, you can be a perfectionist. I mean, you have to, that's up to you. You have to keep, like, I feel like I need to move this thumb over more, but do I want to restart the whole drawing and move it now? No, if I had noticed it before, yes, but I think it looks okay, so I'm going to leave it alone, if that made any sense to you. But I mean, yeah, so you got to just kind of figure out as much as you can. And even when you think that you've done everything to kind of make it perfect, you're going to have to go back in and change things. Or you're going to notice things that you didn't notice before, is what I'm trying to say. And then you're going to have to decide if you want to change them. I'm just looking at it. I'm just seeing, like, am I on the right track, right? Basically. I'm just enhancing some areas of shading. I'm working on this part right now. Okay. Um, Just taking a final look at it. I mean, it could use some adjustments, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. The one thing I'm noticing this finger kind of coming through here. Just trying to get rid of that. All right, I'm going to leave it.